Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is Roush, and welcome back to the postseason interviews for Season 3 of the Pokemon Speedruns Draft League. This evening, I am joined with...
Sunrakasha, coach of the Earthquake Fish.
Sounds great. Let's go ahead and take a look at the team that you had this season and are bringing into playoffs. Which, by the way, congratulations. So, you had Jirachi, Rotom, Wash, Alolan Ninetales, Alolan Marowak, Hitmonlee, Roselia, Mega Beedrill, Magnezone, Latios, Swampert, and Toxicroak. But originally you had drafted Garchomp and Shiftry. Why did you drop those two?
So Shiftry never did anything. Originally it was just some weird grass pick that got to get some damage off, but it was never good enough and died to everything. Garchomp was picked to have a good Tier 1 Dragon lead that would allow me to have another offensive breaker on my team.
Why'd you get rid of them?
I got rid of them because Latios allowed me to have a more mixed offense on my team. It gave me a better special sweeper than Magnezone or using Ninetales. I got rid of Shiftry for Roselia so that I had a Grassmon that could actually tank something rather than a Grassmon whose job was basically to come in and knock off.
Yeah, I can see why. Alright, go ahead. Walk me through everybody who ended up on your final roster. Tell me why you have them, and tell me a little bit about those nicknames.
Alright, so we started off with my first pick in the draft, Jirachi. I picked it up because I've played with it on a Mega Beedrill team before, and it was my plan A for the draft was to end up there. It allows me to have a good defensive U-turner and also have something that can flinch hack when you need to. It's named Prying Open. It's a bit of a reference jump, but Prying Open my Third Eye Jirachi, Tool Song gets us there on that one. Rotom Wash was a pick that I made pretty highly. I think I actually took Rotom Wash second round of the draft. I took it over getting a second Tier 1 because I knew that I could get a Dragon later, and I wanted a bulky water pivot. Once again, we're creating a Volt Turn team with Beedrill in mind. So I named it Dongle. This is like not even really an inspired name. It just looks like something that would plug into something. It's not a fun one here. There's no history behind it. Alolan Ninetales was a good defensive setup for my team. It allowed me to start making these switches in pretty aggressively once I got an Aurora Veil up, and I was also able to use it as an offensive threat once or twice in this course of the league.
Yeah.
Ninetales' name is Ninetales' name is Jadis. That's the name of the White Witch in the Chronicle of Narnia series.
That's right. She does look like the White
I don't remember
Witch.
if that shows up in the movies. It shows up in the books. So
I read the books.
Yeah, it ends up working in the end. Marowak, Alola Marowak was my my offensive fire Pokemon. In lieu of taking Infernape as a Tier 1 because I didn't want to use a Tier 1 slot on an offensive fire breaker, I took Marowak, which also allowed me to set up for some Trick Room shenanigans that I saw in my future. I was going to be playing as a couple of Trick Room users over the course of the season, and also just hits really hard against things like Celesteela that were in my bracket. In my division, rather. His name is Marogar, named after one of the bosses, Lord Marogar in Wrath of the Lich King, which was just a giant skeleton guy. Hitmonlee, the man, the myth, the legend. I drafted this with the intention of getting to play on Burden Lee once in the season. I did get to play it eventually, but he looked bad in a lot of weeks.
Yeah, you only brought it twice.
Yeah, I only played it twice, and I only played on Burden once. Because the first one was another weird set. It was an Assault Vest Hitmonlee. So his name is Shiqian. Li Shiqian is a Magic player from Hong Kong. I felt like going with Jackie just was overplayed, and so I went with another name.
Yeah.
Roselia we picked up late. I kind of already talked about that. I needed a defensive Grassmon. I did get to bring it a couple of times. It didn't do a ton of work in the end, but you know, it did what it was supposed to, at least one. Actually, I don't think I brought it in. But named Vega, Flower Hands. Vega is the Street Fighter character who, once he kills you, has like a rose. So just
okay.
Switch over there. Mega Beedrill. This is the reason I drafted the team. I took him entirely too early for two reasons. One, because it had been drafted early by you, in fact, the previous season. But also because my backup Mega was going to be Mega Absol, which got taken before me. And so...
Oh, really?
Megas. Everybody's
That's
picking their
hilarious.
megas. I need it now because otherwise my team draft doesn't make sense.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, Jake was sniping a lot of my picks during the draft. His name is Samuel Smaxson. Samuel Jackson, just here to lay the beat down on. He was the reason for the team. I've played Mega Beedrill teams before, and it's just what I wanted to do with this. Magnezone was another Volt turner if I needed it. It was a Steel Trapper a lot of the time. It had Substitute once. It had Magnet Rise. It just got to do a lot of like fun things over the course of the season. It also gave me a Special Sweeper. Name on this one, it's into zone. Ha ha ha. Yeah. So not really much to that. Latios was next. I should have just taken Latios in the draft over Garchomp because I've played with Latios on the Mega Beedrill team before. Like the Mega Beedrill team I had in the past was Jirachi, Rotom, Magnezone, Latios, Weavile, Landorus, Therian. And I've actually ended up with 4 of those now. But I should have taken Latios in the first place. It gives me something to turn into that immediately applies special pressure. I picked it up. It also gave me a defogger that wasn't Rotom. His name is Steve because Latios has the jet engines on his thing. Steve is a guy that we know that is very loud. He has one volume setting, so his name is Steve in all caps.
Sorry,
we've got
I think that's
Swampert.
very funny.
This guy was my rock through the majority of this. The double bulky water defensive core that gets there somehow because people don't like bringing a ton of grass moves. Like there's always the fear that they've got Energy Ball on everything, but Swampert was able to be a Stealth Rock setter. He was able to be banded.
Just bring Rindoberry next time.
Yeah.
Scared? Use Rindoberry.
Yeah.
That's what I did, and I used it like 3 times last season. And I had Mega Beedrill Swampert too.
It's really great. It just gives you something that defensive switches to everything.
Oh yeah, so good.
And then it's named Ranger Squid after one of the other competitors in this league who had Mudkip as his favorite Pokemon, uses Mega Swampert in this league even. I didn't really have a great name for Swampert, so I just went with naming it after somebody else.
Mine was named I. The letter
name
I.
Name it A.
No. No,
I
you. Sorry, it was you. It was you. Has to be you.
Yeah, single character name because you ran it in.
Yup.
Yep.
Specifically
Yeah.
you, because that's the one that mine is always named.
Last one on the list is Toxicroak. As you can see, I brought it once. It killed one thing. It was not good.
Hey, it killed the Mega Gallade. What is that?
Yeah, it did kill Mega Gallade.
I never realized that was actually the only time that you brought it, and for some reason I thought you had used it more times. Man, I feel bad now.
I drafted it on the back of previous knowledge of Toxicroaks in generations where Toxicroak was a playable Pokemon. The problem is his setup sets are not fast enough to kill switch-ins, and his priority moves are not good enough when he's not set up.
Yeah.
So it basically has to be some weird, like, choice-banded, like... Not even choice-banded, because he gets Sucker Punch as his only physical priority move. He just, like, ended up bad all the time. I even named him Sucker, and did not bring Sucker Punch on him. But it was funny, because I was planning on bringing him as named Sucker with Ice Punch on him a lot of the time, just to give people the fear. But he was not good. I did not end up playing him very much. I should have traded him.
Makes sense to me. Well, alright, let's go ahead. You have picked a very interesting set as your set of note. Let's go ahead and we'll switch on over to that. Walk me through Shitien.
Alright, so this Hitmonlee was the work of both yourself, Roush, and Gino, who spent a couple of hours trying to find basically what the 6th slot on my team to go against FN Crazy in the final week was, so that I could win and try and make my way into playoffs.
It was a joke!
This set basically got to wipe his whole team once we got set up. The whole plan behind this set was to get at a point where we had Stealth Rocks and Aurora Veil up, and get the Hitmonlee in against a Porygon 2 that we knew he was bringing as a defensive switch. Against the Porygon 2, this stat spread allowed us to tank coverage moves with our HP through our substitute, and then tank foul play by very carefully balancing our attack and defense. Once we've balanced our attack and defense in a way that foul play can no longer break our sub, we can bulk up all we want because they even themselves out. And once we've bulked up, we can deal a lot of damage behind the sub, and we can continue to substitute in front of things that might be able to kill us in order to eat our Figgy Berry and activate Unburden. Once we've got bulk up and Unburden activated, we can kill anything on his team, barring high jump kick misses, which thankfully did not happen.
Let's take a look and see exactly how this thing went down. So we're going to switch gears. So right now, mission number 1, get up Aurora of Hail.
Yep.
Then what happens?
So we're going to swap our Ninetales out here.
Not this one.
Oh, we're going to Blizzard. We're too early. Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. I was
the
a couple
Blizzard
of
here,
turns early.
he Toxics. So weirdly enough, I need this Ninetales to not be here. And I don't want him to just randomly stay in, but I think he's going to recover here, so this is where I go for the switch. But I couldn't go for Blizzard there, because if for some reason he stays in and the Porygon dies, I can no longer set up against his team. But now we're exactly where we want to be. Hitmonlee's in. He even switches here, which means we get the sub out for free. He brought the same Celebi last time that did not have Psychic coverage, but yeah, I think he just goes for Giga Drain here, and I bulk up in its face because I imagine he's on a similar thing, but he also can't outspeed this Hitmonlee now.
Like, I'm still surprised. I'm trying to figure out how did that Giga Drain not break the substitute? Like, even in uninvested Celebi, that was like a bare min damage roll that you got there. It was so lucky.
Yeah, it had to have been terrible. I didn't do the calc on what his Giga Drain was supposed to do there, but it had to not have been good for him. The Lando comes in here and defogs, and now that we've done enough damage with knockoff, I know that he's not defensive enough, but I don't have to go for a high jump kick. I could just knock off again, which saves us 1 miss worth of damage here. Now here's where he should have punished me, basically. I imagined he was going to go for the kill, so I just started subbing in his face. But if he had Dragon Dance, or in this case what he did have, Tailwind, he should have just Tailwinded and let me do whatever the hell I wanted back there, because he didn't realize what was happening in time. He probably just imagined we were on Reckless at this point, because he hadn't seen us try to trigger our Unburden. But he should have figured after I subbed in his face that that's what was about to happen. Now we've got a sub up, we're bulk upped once, we've got Hitmonlee in, we just start going crazy. We knock off Celebi, that's a one-shot, and we high jump kick everything else on his team.
I mean, like, it was just so specific a set. And originally, I brought up the idea, I was like, oh, well, 6-mon, let's just bring a Hitmonlee. So then we were trying to figure out what kind of things can we get this Hitmonlee to do? Because, like, we knew Unburden would be amazing. So one of the ideas that I brought about was Natural Gift Ganlin Berry. However, unfortunately, you can't have Unburden, which is a hidden ability, with Natural Gift, because Natural Gift is Gen 4 only.
Right, and which meant we had to now deal with the Landorus somehow, which was the biggest problem to this set.
Yeah.
We also managed to live bullet punches once we were bulked up, which was important, because despite the fact that you guys continued to argue he shouldn't bring the Banded Scissor, I was almost certain he was bringing it again. And Banded Bullet Punch was a problem for this Hitmonlee in a lot of situations.
There was like no other situation in which this Hitmonlee would have done anything except in the exact scenario that popped up. It's so ridiculous. It was super specific. It just somehow managed to squeak its way into working.
It did exactly what it was supposed to do.
I mean, hot garbo. Let's take a look at a playoff bracket. So, who do you got as your final four?
My final four, obviously I'm crushing my side of the bracket. That's just happening. I think Gino makes it in.
You think Gino? Okay.
God. The top left is hard. I think Dolphin is really good. I think FN can give Dolphin a run for his money.
So here's the beautiful thing. Here's the beautiful thing. In terms of one-on-one matchups, King K makes it really tough on FN. Like, he just does. Team v team.
Yeah, King K has been...
And FN gives Dolphin...
been weird recently.
Yeah, he gave up the last week. You'll have to excuse him. He was sick.
Yeah.
He was like sick for 2 weeks and didn't.
He was also already locked for the playoffs, so he didn't need to, once he was doing that. I think King K has a chance to beat FN. I think the FN's going to win that, but I don't think the FN's going to beat Dolphins. I think Dolphins are advancing there. And I mean, Ranger Squid's just no. I think you're making it in your bottom left, the Huntsville Heatran.
Yeah. So fairly safe picks, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah,
a lot of people have chosen
aside
this
from
exact
myself.
four. The only side of the bracket that's really been up for debate has been your quadrant. Some people have said, I've had at least 3 people say each of you.
Right. I think in
one
our side
point
of
or
the bracket,
another, and I think
it.
that's going to be a dog pile. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I think any of us can make it. I obviously think that I can win matches against both of these players, but that doesn't necessarily mean that my team is going to be prepped correctly for what they decide to bring. So I'm ready to have some fun with that side of the bracket, I think.
And then the only other one that's is just Gino versus
Ninja.
Ninja. Sorry, Yaga. Yeah. Very few people actually believe in you, which is unfortunate.
See, the problem I have is I think Yaga can beat Ninja. I think that's possible.
Oh yeah, very possible.
I don't know if Yaga can beat Gino.
No.
The team doesn't work right.
No.
Her breakers are not very good at dealing with the defensive walls his team puts up.
All right, so that being said, let's go ahead and get to the moment that I imagine that you've been waiting for. It's time for your grades of the year. So, some things to note about your team. I have one question. Do you think Mega Beedrill was worth it?
For my enjoyment of the league, yes. I think Mega Beedrill is worth it as long as you're willing to not bring it. That's the problem with it, I think, is that if you build and only bring it every week, it's bad, but I think it did what it was supposed to a lot of the time. So I'd probably draft it again.
Okay. I had huge issues with it last season, and I ended up winning the whole tournament. I don't think I even used my Mega Slot the entirety of playoffs, because I couldn't get a good matchup with it. I just couldn't make it work. Swampert, as you said, is like a catch-all kind of tank. It will tank almost any single hit that you ask it to, which is incredible. Alongside Rotom Wash, very nice defensive pairing. Rachi there passing wishes to either one of them. Very good use of Wish. You had some fairly creative team builds. You did rather limit yourself in terms of the amount of Pokemon that you would bring. Note how like you barely used Hitmonlee, you barely used Toxicroak, Roselia obviously, but you didn't really use Garchomp, and you never used Shiftry either. So it's like your teams were rather linear.
Perfect.
People could pretty much understand, oh yeah, that's what Sun's going to be bringing on any given week. But overall, they were very solid teams. And because of that, I'm going to grant you a team building score of a B. However, where you really shone was in your match execution. Going down, look at your team schedule. Your wins, 5, 4, 5, 6, and 6. You got 2 6-0s. Incredible. Your losses, only once did you lose more than 3-0. Only once.
Yeah.
You were always in the thick of the fight. And given that you actually had the statistically most difficult schedule out of anybody in the entire league, and you put up with that and you came close every single time, is really impressive to me. Your battle style was great. You used your Pokemon very efficiently, in my opinion, and you made plays that needed to be made. You were aggressive when you needed to be for the most part, and you were defensive when you needed to be there too. And because of that, I'm actually granting you a match execution score of A-. Even though you didn't have a winning record, I feel like you should have, because you were never out of any match. You played fantastically, and I actually have you as part of my Final Four. I believe that you can take that side of bracket. But overall, the team kind of weighs you down. Again, you did limit yourself at times, but it's not a bad team by any means. And I feel like you've learned how to use these Mons in a way that will get you far enough in playoffs. You are very much a contender. And because of that, your overall score, you're granted a B+. You've done very well so far this season, and we really hope to see you next season as well. And yeah.
Schedule barring, I'll try again.
Well,
Yeah.
we are going to begin announcing now. We are going to begin, I want to say mid-August is when we're going to start again. I know that's school time, starting back to school for a lot of people, but we really hope to see you again. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off?
No, I'm good.
All right.
That's it.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. See you around. Roush is out. Peace.